All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started in the webinar. Some of you just logged in. Just a few instructions before we begin. You can participate in the webinar by dialing in by telephone or using your computer microphone and speakers. It looks like everyone logged in here today is using their computer mic and speakers. But if you want to change that, or if you don't have a microphone, you can go to the audio tab in the GoToWebinar software and choose telephone. While I'm presenting, I will keep everyone muted, but at the end, we'll have a question and answer session, and I'll unmute everyone, and you can ask any questions that you might have. So today, we're going to talk about ZoomText Mac. My name is Derek Bovey. I work here as the Technical Product Manager. So this is a brand new product that we just released a couple weeks ago at the ATIA show. So many of you have already heard about ZoomText Mac. It's a magnification solution for the Mac operating system. So we're going to go over the features in the product. I'll also give you a demonstration on how it works and what it looks like. And then we'll talk about pricing and a few other things that we have available as well. So let's talk a little bit about the features. You heard me say that it's a magnification-only version of ZoomText, so there's no speech at this time. That's something that we're looking at in the future. But you can run ZoomText with VoiceOver if you'd like. For those of you that don't know, VoiceOver is a built-in screen reader that's built into the Mac operating system. You can use the two together. We don't have any special support for it, but there's nothing precluding you from using the two together if you want some sort of speech feedback. In terms of the features on ZoomText Mac, we have magnification up to 36 times, much like you're used to on ZoomText on the PC. There's also font smoothing, a little bit different than what Xfont looks like on the Windows side. But one of the benefits we get with how we're doing font smoothing in the Mac is that you actually get image sharpening. So pictures are going to appear a little bit cleaner and less pixelated than they would on the PC with ZoomText. Along with that, there's all of the screen enhancements that you're used to. There are a number of high contrast color filtering schemes, including a couple new ones that we've added for ZoomText Mac. So you have the ability to change the on-screen colors, how your mouse pointer appears, the text cursor, and the system cursor with the focus enhancement as well. One of the big things that sets ZoomText Mac apart, and you might be wondering, well, doesn't the Mac have a built-in zoom feature? It does. But it doesn't have any built-in font smoothing, so as you increase magnification level, it's going to look pretty pixelated and very blurry. The real detriment to the built-in zoom is that it doesn't track the visual focus very well when you're using the computer. So, for example, if you were to go to the Spotlight search or to activate your dock, or even use Alt-Tab to switch between applications, many of those instances, the built-in zoom will not move your magnified view to where the focus is, making it very hard to use that built-in zoom. So one of the things in ZoomText Mac is our tracking support is very, very similar to what you're familiar with on the PC side of things. And that last bullet point there says inherited application support. Basically what that means is if an application on the Mac is written to adhere to the built-in accessibility standards, ZoomText will support it. So what this means is applications like Safari, Pages, Keynote, or any of those other applications are going to work perfectly out of the box with ZoomText Mac. Applications like Microsoft Office are really hit and miss. For example, Microsoft Word, have any tracking support. VoiceOver won't support it either. There's no speech support at all. So that program is severely lacking in adhering to some of those accessibility standards. Microsoft Outlook, on the other hand, seems to work better. So there's some programs that may have a varied experience, but really it comes down to what the application developer has done to best suit accessibility programs in the operating system. Okay, so that's the feature set. Let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits and why you would want something like ZoomText Mac. Well, the first and obvious thing is the font smoothing. You're going to get improved font smoothing over the built-in zoom, and when you're magnifying images, they won't appear as pixelated as if you were using another magnifier. Okay, the big thing is tracking support, which I just talked about a little bit, and the ability to track all those on-screen elements, especially if you're a keyboard user. This is going to be really, really helpful, because otherwise you're going to be moving around with the mouse a lot to see everything on your computer screen, and that's not going to be a very good experience. And the other thing, too, is all the enhancements. The built-in accessibility tools, while they're great, they don't offer a lot of customization or flexibility. So, you can't add a locator to your mouse pointer. You can't change various color filtering modes. They have one mode, which is invert, I believe. They might have a black and white, but not all the other options that are available in ZoomText Mac. No cursor enhancements or focus enhancements either. Okay, so those are the main benefits of ZoomText Mac. So what we're going to do now is jump into a live demonstration, and I'll show you the product, kind of explain some things and how it works. Visually, it's a little bit different than ZoomText on the PC, so it's not going to look exactly the same for those of you that are already running ZoomText on the PC side of things. So I'm going to be demonstrating this to you live over the internet, so just keep in mind that it may look a little bit choppy at times, and that's just our internet connection. Doesn't have anything to do with the actual product. So I'm going to go ahead and launch ZoomText. I've got an icon on my desktop. I'm going to double-click on it, and here you can see how quickly that starts. We're already magnified. Now, the really big difference that you're going to notice right away is that there's no toolbar. When I started ZoomText, I had this preferences panel that opened up. Okay, so instead of having a rectangular toolbar, we have a preferences panel, which is where you can adjust all of your settings in ZoomText Mac, and they're organized by tabs up here. Before I go through this, I actually want to close this just to show you a couple other things. So when you're running ZoomText Mac, you have hotkeys to do things like adjust your magnification level. So you can see as I'm increasing here, I even get this nice visual indication as to what my magnification level is. Okay, so that's a nice new feature that we added as well. So how do you get to ZoomText? It's a little bit different on the Mac. In the upper right-hand corner, you have this program menu with applications that are running. And you can see here, there's this V icon for ZoomText. And in this menu, you can do a number of different things, one of which is you can change your magnification level. Okay, you can see the hotkeys are listed here to increase or decrease, or you can just click on the level that you like in the drop-down list here. You can also disable ZoomText if you like, turn on the color filter if you wanted to do that. This one's invert brightness. Okay, I'll just go back in there and disable that. But the main area where you're going to make your ZoomText settings is in the Preferences panel. Okay, so just go ahead and click on that, and here is our Preferences panel. All right, so the first thing you're probably going to do is go to the Magnification tab, and in here set your magnification level just by dragging the slide bar. Or you can use the hotkeys. You hold down the Command and Option keys and just press the up or down arrow. It's going to change your magnification level. Again, all the way up to 36x, like ZoomText on the PC. You have two different zoom window types. Most people are just going to stick with full, but there is a lens option if you want to use the lens. And then we also have a setting here called gesture zooming, which is turned on by default. This is kind of similar to mouse wheel zooming on the PC side of things. So right now it's enabled that when I hold Command, if I scroll my trackpad up while holding Command, it'll increase the magnification level. Hold Command and scroll down on the trackpad, it'll decrease. Okay, so just a handy way to change your magnification level real quickly and simply without using hotkeys, well, with using one hotkey effectively in the trackpad. All right, so in this magnification tab, that's where you're going to make all of your changes for magnification level. And again, you can change your magnification level by doing Command Option up and down arrow as well. Okay. Now under the Enhancements tab, this is where you're going to have all of your settings for your color scheme, your pointer enhancement, and the cursor or focus scheme. All right. Now let's look at some of these color filters. There's a number that we've added. Some of them are familiar, like invert brightness. Oops, didn't click on it. Invert brightness, reverse video. Okay, those are very familiar to those of you that are already using ZoomText black and white invert, or white on black. And then we've added a couple new ones, like blue on beige. Yellow on black was in ZoomText. You can see that looks pretty good here. And yellow on blue is also a new one as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up an application just to show you if I open Pages. All right, now notice, do that again. I hit the hotkey to open the Spotlight search, which is Command Spacebar. It automatically tracks to that, and as I'm typing, you can see that the screen's moving without me doing anything. All right, so we're opening Pages here. I think it's still opening. Oh, I'm on a new document. Okay. And I'm just going to type send. So welcome to the ZoomText Mac webinar. All right. I just want to have this open so you can see what the color filtering looks like. So for example, let's check out reverse video here. See how that looks. Magnified in Pages. I'll show you the two new ones just so you can get an idea. Blue on beige. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. This is almost like a blue dye. So you've got blue text on a light kind of beige blue background. And a lot of this is going to depend on the application colors too. So you might have some in-between or gradient colors as well. But one of the filters that looks really good here is yellow on blue. If we go back to Pages, you can see that that's a really clear yellow color on a blue background. Just really shows up well when using a text editor like Pages. Okay, and there are hotkeys to turn your color filtering on and off. Command Option /, which is under the delete key, that'll turn the last filter on and off. Right. Now, one thing you might notice, if you look above my text cursor, there's this unmagnified version of the cursor showing up as well. This is something that's a known issue that we're working with Apple on, but basically this 1x pointer can sometimes show up on screen. If it does show up, you can just move your mouse down to the dock and then move off of it, and usually it'll disappear. So there's a known issue that we're working with Apple to resolve, where the unmagnified pointer is displayed on screen. So we've done a lot of work to hide it about 80% of the time, but getting that last 20% is going to require us or Apple to make some changes in the operating system. So that's something that's a work in progress. It's a known issue, but ZoomText does a pretty good job right now of getting rid of most of those annoying instances of it. It won't do anything, so wherever I click, it's going to be the magnified pointer. It's just visually kind of annoying that it shows up. So if you do see it, just realize that we are aware of it and we're working on it. And if you want to get rid of it, go down the dock and then move off of the dock, and usually it will disappear. Okay. So those were the color enhancements. Now we'll talk a little bit about the pointer enhancements. You've got preset settings here, so you can change things like the color of your mouse pointer if you like, and the size. This is the normal size, which is really, really small, the normal mouse pointer size. So we'll keep it on large. And you can even add a locator if you like, such as a circle or crosshair. Okay. And then you can also choose when you want that locator to show up, all the time, or when you're pressing a command or a key like Command. So if I press that, it'll show up. All right. So you've got customization, basically size, color, and if you want a locator. Now, one of the things I want to mention that's new with the pointer enhancement on the Mac is it's actually very smooth and redrawn at all magnification levels. So as you can see, even if I'm at something like 12x, that mouse pointer is really sharp. There's no jagged edges to it. Even the I-bar cursor here, the arrows, or if you get the hand icon to show up, they're all redrawn very nicely and look very clear and clean at any magnification level that you're running ZoomText at. So that's, again, kind of a new feature that's built in here as well. All right. Cursor enhancements, all the preset schemes that you're used to on the Windows side of things. So let's choose green circle just to switch it up since I have a blue pointer. So if we go back to Pages, you'll see that green circle showing up. and notice that the cursor enhancement follows the text cursor. All right, so you can see, again, it's following as I type, right? So there's that. So just a handy, and all these enhancements I should mention, they're all turned on by default when you start the program. I had them turned off just so I could show you how they work and how it appears before and after. Okay, so the cursor enhancement, that's going to show up anywhere where there's a text cursor, whether you're in Pages, whether you're in the Spotlight search, or even if you're in Safari and entering in a website address, or even in a search field, it'll show up there. So basically any instance of the text cursor is where that will show up on screen. Okay. Now the last one, the focus scheme or the focus enhancement, basically if you're using a keyboard, if I'm tabbing through this dialog box, okay, there's this light blue highlight that's showing up on whatever control I'm on. All right, for a lot of people that's really hard to see. So the focus enhancement, again, 2 presets, red frame or thick green underline. We'll choose red frame. So now notice as I'm tabbing, I have this nice red highlight showing up on screen. It really allows me to tell what options, if I hit the space bar, for example, to check that box, to start ZoomText after I log in, I can tell exactly what I'm on. Much, much easier. Again, this is going to work pretty much anywhere. If you're in application menus and things like that, you can see as I'm arrowing through, it will show up. Okay. A lot of you are probably already familiar with a lot of these features, but the main idea here is everything that you're used to on the PC side of things is pretty much going to work exactly the same on the Mac in terms of the enhancements. Okay, so that's what the focus enhancement is going to look like. And again, you can see, even if I'm moving the mouse over these menu items, it will appear there as well. All right, so this is what you have for your enhancements. Again, these are probably things that you're probably going to set once and then kind of leave it. Those are your default settings. Talking about settings, there's nothing that you need to save within ZoomText. If you exit the program, all right, if I exit out entirely, and the hotkey for this, if you're curious, is Command-Option-Q, or go up here. Well, this will close the Preferences panel. If you want to quit it, you can go to the icon, you click Quit. Now I'm out. If I restart it, notice that I'm back with my previous settings. The blue pointer, cursor, and focus schemes are turned on. So we automatically save settings when you exit ZoomText. You don't have to save anything. If you ever get stuck and you feel like you really messed something up, there's a Restore Defaults button. This will bring you back to 2x, large pointer, with the cursor and focus schemes turned on. Okay, so that if you ever get stuck, you can always click on that. There's a few other options that are available. These are probably going to be more advanced settings. For example, under the Tracking tab here, you can choose what items you want ZoomText to visually track. You want to keep at least mouse pointer selected. If I uncheck that, notice that if I move my mouse pointer off screen, it's not moving. All right, so that's one you always want to keep checked. Text cursor too, because otherwise you'll be able to type off the screen and it won't follow. If you want to get rid of some extraneous tracking, you can uncheck things like menus or window tracking. Probably window would be one of the better ones, because when you open a new application, we're going to track to the upper left of the application window. Some people don't like that. If you're more of a mouse user, you might want to experiment with some of these. I'm going to say 98% of people are probably never going to touch these items, but they are in there if you'd like. Some of the more interesting tracking options that you have, if you want to have ZoomText center tracked, okay, you can choose to have it centered when you're doing things like moving the mouse. So notice with that item checked, the screen is kind of moving around my mouse pointer. It's always in the middle of the screen. I can also do that for my text cursor. So when I'm typing, this is what center tracking looks like. Okay, notice that the text cursor is always in the middle of the screen. All right, so that's what center tracking looks like. You can do the same thing for controls. So if I'm tabbing through controls, again, they're always centered within my view. All right, so some of you might find that center tracking is helpful for you in certain instances. Maybe for typing, it's helpful to have it right in the middle. I think for a lot of people, it depends on their eye condition. They may find center tracking is not very helpful for them if they're using mostly their peripheral vision, for example. Okay, so those are the tracking items options that you have available as well. The mouse tab, this is just going to have a few miscellaneous options available for people that are mouse users. So, for example, there's a checkbox that says bring the mouse pointer over the active control. If I'm tabbing and I have that option checked, notice that it's moving the mouse over that control too. Okay, so again, if you wanted to click on that rather than using the keyboard, you can have that option selected. And then again, there's another option here. If you want to use a hotkey to bring the pointer to the center of your viewport, the default is Shift, but I could use Command or Control as well. So now if I just held down Shift for 2 seconds, notice my mouse pointer moves to the middle of the screen. Okay, that can be handy if you don't know where your mouse pointer is. Maybe you can't find it visually, you can't locate it on screen. Let's say I was using the normal-sized mouse pointer, and I just don't know where it is. All right, I can't tell that it's in the lower left-hand corner. Hold down Shift, and now it moves to the middle of the screen, and I can find it. Okay, so these are kind of miscellaneous controls that you can use to help for people that are mouse pointer users. All right, you just go back and change this back to large. Then there's a couple others here. These pointer constraints, for example, if you have motor skill issues and you want the pointer to only move horizontally or vertically, when you hold down the Shift key, you can do that. So now I can only move up and down or left and right. Okay, so that can eliminate some issues people may have. And this is kind of an interesting option. So hold the Control key to stay within the active window. If this is selected, I'm holding down Control. I can't move my mouse outside of the boundary of the window. All right. So again, those options, the pointer constraint options, are really for people with motor skill issues. Okay. So now, again, I can't move it out of the window. All right. So that really does it for all of the options that you have within the ZoomText Preferences panel. Just a few other things to mention on the About box here. When you're running the product for the first time, it's going to come up and show you trial days remaining. You have an option to buy the product. Or if you purchased it, you can just click the Enter Serial Number button. It's going to be a 25-digit serial number. You just enter it in and click Activate. Very similar to how things behave on the PC side of things. Single-user products you can activate on up to 3 machines. So that's pretty much the same as well. Okay, so when you're ready to activate your product, this is where you go and do it. So that's basically it for the Preferences panel. Let's just see a couple handy hotkeys that I'll mention. So if that Preferences panel is closed, you're in Safari, and you think, oh, I want to make some changes to my settings, Command-Option-Enter will bring up the Preferences panel. All right, so 2 ways you can get that Preferences panel. One is clicking on the Z icon and clicking Preferences, and the other is using the hotkey of Command-Option-Enter. Okay, hotkey to disable and enable ZoomText, Command-Option-Delete. All right, I hit it once, deleted. Notice that the Z icon is still up there, which means it's still running. Command-Option-Delete one more time, and you're re-enabled. All right. Now, while I've got our website open, I just want to show you, because here you can really see, and if you could kind of see a before and after of what other magnifiers look like, here you can really tell that we're doing some smoothing on images. Notice that there's not really any very jagged text here, and we're zoomed in, I think, at 4x, so pretty large. You can also see the hand pointer here is very smooth. Might be a little bit tough to see against that black background, but it's really sharp. So again, the smoothing algorithm that we're using, while it doesn't give us X-font quality text, it will smooth everything out on the screen. So there are some ancillary benefits like smoothing out images. And this can really be helpful if you're looking at something like Google Maps. A lot of times, those would look really pixelated with ZoomText. But on the Mac side of things, even if I was zooming in, just using magnification, the text is at least readable. I mean, ideally you want to zoom up in Google Maps itself rather than relying on ZoomText. But again, even if I had to magnify up to 16 times, I can at least make out what that text says. Whereas in other cases, it might be so pixelated that you just can't read it at all. Okay? So those are some benefits that you'll get with ZoomText Mac. Let's see a few other things. I showed you how it works in Keynote. You know, basically everything tracks as you would expect it to. You see the cursor enhancement showing up there. Let's see. Do we have any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, that basically does it for the demonstration. We can obviously go back, and if people have questions at the end, they want to see how things work with a certain application, we can do that. But I think for now, we'll switch back over to the presentation. There's a few other things that we're going to talk about here, starting with pricing. So if you haven't checked out our website to look at the pricing, here's how it breaks down. So if you're a brand new ZoomText Mac customer, you've never used ZoomText before, never purchased it on a PC, new purchases are going to have a list price of $3.99. Okay, we have an introductory offer right now where new purchases are $2.99. We don't have any expiration date on that, so basically if you're a new customer to AI Squared and you want to buy ZoomText Mac, it's $2.99. If you already own ZoomText on Windows, we're going to give you an even better deal. The retail price on that will be $149. All right, so if you already own ZoomText and you want it for the Mac, it's $149, basically half of the introductory price. But we also have a special offer that we're running through March 15th, so about a little bit over a month left. If you already own ZoomText for PC, you can buy the Mac version for $99. So that's a really cheap and really great introductory offer. If you've got a Mac, it's only $100 to upgrade. Okay, so that's how the pricing breaks down. The other thing that we've introduced right at the outset are large print keyboards. So we have 3 different large print color schemes. You've got black on yellow, white on black, and black on white. Hopefully you guys can see the screenshot listed below there. Those retail for $99. All right, they are Apple manufactured keyboards. They have large print letters and symbols on them. They are wired keyboards. We'd love to sell wireless ones, but unfortunately Apple won't let you do that. So they're wired keyboards. They have the full number pad, as you can see at the right-hand side. One difference, you know, if you have a ZoomText keyboard in the PC, there's no function keys on this keyboard to do specific ZoomText functions, but it is a large print keyboard with the 3 different high contrast schemes: black lettering on yellow keys, white lettering on black keys, and black lettering on white keys. And those are available for $99. But if you already own a keyboard or you have a laptop, okay, we're also selling keyboard overlays or skins. The full keyboard overlays are $35, and those come in either black lettering on white keys or white lettering on black keys. We also have a laptop skin available for $30. It's white lettering on black keys only. That's the only color scheme available. So if you already own a keyboard, if you have a Bluetooth keyboard and you just want the large print skin, you can buy those for $35. They're really nice. They fit over the keyboard perfectly, and it also kind of helps so the keyboard doesn't collect dirt underneath it and things like that. So even though you're getting the benefits of the large print lettering, it's also nice to kind of protect the keyboard as well. So those are some accessories that are available right away also. Okay? So that basically does it for our webinar. I have our sales and tech support hotlines listed there, so if you have any questions or you want to purchase, you can call sales to purchase. If you have any questions on ZoomText Mac, you can call tech support. They're available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We do have free 30-day trials available on our website. So if you go to our home page, and maybe I'll show you that real quick over on the Mac. If we open up Safari and go to the AI Squared home page, on here there's a link right at the front. It says ZoomText Mac. It's here. Click on that. And on the left-hand side, there's a link that says ZoomText Mac Trial. Just click on that, fill out the form, and then click Submit, and you can start downloading it. It's a really small file. It's only 10 megabytes, so unless you're on dial-up, it's only going to take, it's probably going to take less than a minute. So really small and compact file size as well. Okay, so now that we've got that all set up here, I'm just going to go ahead and unmute everyone and see if anyone has any questions for us today. If you do have hear you on our end, just type it in the chat panel or the questions panel. Some of you, there's a lot of background noise, so I'm just going to try and mute those of you that have a lot of background noise. But if you do have questions, feel free to just speak up or type them into the chat panel.
Derek, is there a time frame that AI Squared will develop a reader version of this?
No time frame. It's something that we're looking at. We are evaluating feedback from the field and also evaluating what we can do on the platform. But again, you can use VoiceOver right now with ZoomText Mac. If you just need something to read a document back to you, you could use VoiceOver out of the box and do that. There are some limitations. For example, we can't track everywhere where the VoiceOver cursor is. But it's something that we're looking at. We don't have any time frame. We would like to do it, but yeah, it's something that we're looking at right now and trying to figure out what the right approach is.
Are there any browsers that it won't work with?
Technically, no, but there are some limitations. Firefox, for example, I don't believe we have tracking support in, again, because they don't adhere to the accessibility standards. Your best bet is to stick with something like Safari for right now. But since it's just a magnifier, there's less issues needing to be supported. Mike had a good question. For those of you who purchased a magnifier, be able to obtain an add-on when we develop a reading feature, buy a whole new product. More than likely, those that already have ZoomText Mac, it will just be, an upgrade price, not purchasing a whole new product. We haven't established anything in terms of pricing for a reading product, what that's going to look like, so it's too early to speculate. But we wouldn't charge you the entire product price if you already bought ZoomText Mac right now. Any other questions for us here this morning?
Actually, I've got several questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you know because I know right now you're just supporting full screen and lens mode.
Yep.
Do you know in the future, are they going to have the ability, like the Windows version, to be able to adjust the lens size?
You can actually do that right now. I'll switch over and show that to you. So if I have lens enabled, so I'm going to go into the Preferences panel, choose Lens, and to adjust the lens, I'm just going to close out of these windows here so it's a little bit easier to understand what I'm doing. So to adjust the lens, you go up to the Z icon, and there's going to be an Adjust Lens Size option, and in there, you drag the handle to resize them. Okay. I think the maximum is like 1/4 of the screen, so I can't make it any larger than that. But I could resize it if I wanted to. As far as the other Zoom window types go, like line and the dock views, we found that most people primarily stick with lens. I think when we did a survey, it was not lens, excuse me, full screen. I think we found that it was overwhelming, like 95 or 98% used full screen and nothing else. So we wanted, our main goal with this product was to get something out on the platform that offered a lot of benefits over the built-in Zoom. So rather than spending, another 6 to 12 months in development and adding all of the features that we already have on ZoomText on the PC, we wanted to get the essential features out first so people can start using the product, evaluating it, and then based on that feedback and the requests we get from the field, kind of add them in as we go. So, we're also relying on you guys as our customers to provide us feedback and say, hey, this is what we want. We'd love to see you add this. And I think that will help this product evolve in a much more organic way and also be, maybe even a better fit than what we have currently.
My next question is related to, since I work at a university and we have labs all throughout the campus, and I know on the Windows version right now they support network environments. Is there support for that now, or is that in the future they're thinking about that?
It's something that we're evaluating for the future. The multi-user licensing we have now for ZoomText Mac, it behaves like our district license. So effectively it's a workstation-based license. If you purchase, a 50-user license, you would have 50 activations. Network licensing is something that we're going to evaluate for the future.
It is something we use extensively, so I hope it's something you do add in the future. With the standalone licenses right now on the Windows version, there's an activation step that's online, but there's also a deactivation step that's online.
Yeah.
Is that also true for the Mac version?
There's no transferring of licenses on the Mac. So basically what you would do if you were formatting a machine or needed to remove it from a machine for another one, you just call our activation hotline and talk to our tech support department, and we can add activations to the serial number. It is a little bit more involved since there's no automatic way of getting the license transferred. But again, in the interest of getting this to market, we felt that most users did not use that feature to begin with. Many times, if they were getting rid of a machine, they would not transfer the license anyway, and we were resetting those licenses already. So there's no transfer in the product. It might be something that we add in the future. But we want, again, the whole idea was to get this to market so people could have something on the Mac, and transferring licenses was something that we would push the project out probably another 4 months.
And I don't know if Derek mentioned or not, but when you purchase a single user version, you can actually activate it up to 3 times. This is for just, one user. So somebody who has a laptop and a work computer, maybe they have another third computer. So if you haven't used all 3 and you're trying to activate it again on a second machine, you're going to have no trouble. So that at least should help for people who just have one computer and let's say it crashes or something. They can simply just install it and activate it on their new computer when they get it, and they won't have to call us or anything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of it in terms of, since we use it, we have like a lending library of software, and ZoomText is one of several applications that we let students borrow. That's why the activation deaction is really nice, because once the loan period for that user is done, then we just deactivate it.
Right.
So,
yeah, we can definitely talk to the product manager for this and just emphasize that we should look into adding that in.
There's some other multi-user licensing schemes that we're actually working on for ZoomText on the PC that may translate over to ZoomText Mac that would help your specific situation in the lending library. So there are some other things that we're working on that probably make that even more flexible for that situation.
Derek, do you see in the future of getting Mac to ZoomText Mac to work better with Word and that type of thing?
We would love to. Unfortunately, the onus is kind of on the application developers. So what we would like to work on is a method to capture the information in terms of the number of users that are running Office, running Microsoft Word, and experiencing issues, and go to the developer directly, like Microsoft in this example, and say, hey, we've got 100 ZoomText users that use your product, and we need you to make it work better or adhere to the accessibility standards in the Mac. Can you do this? So for those of you that have been with AI Squared for a long time, you know, the basic history is in ZoomText on the PC, we've spent years and years of development, you know, creating custom ways for ZoomText to work with third-party applications. Okay, so rather than, you know, spending a development cycle of 5+ years to make sure it works with everything, out of the box, ZoomText Mac is going to work with applications that adhere to the built-in accessibility standards of the operating system. So in the case of Microsoft Word, it actually doesn't adhere to those standards. For some reason, Microsoft Outlook does. So I think what we would like to do is better communicate to the application developers that, hey, you know, this is a real problem, and we have a number of users that would like to use your product but can't. And when I mean support, I'm talking about basically magnification tracking of the text cursor and things like that. So if an application doesn't work with ZoomText Mac, you probably won't get any tracking when you type. You won't see the cursor enhancement or the focus enhancement. So that's what the experience would be. And in those applications that we don't support, you also won't have any support from something like VoiceOver. So if ZoomText isn't tracking and you don't see any of the enhancements turned on, you're also not going to get any speech from something like VoiceOver. So unfortunately, Microsoft Word is pretty limited for someone that needs to use accessibility tools on the Mac. So, but long story short, we would like to engage the application developers to better inform them on how they can make their programs.
Do you see any entities like the American Federation of the Blind that sometimes work with Microsoft being able to help you in that regard, or is that something you have to do on your own?
If you have to open up Word, you can still have that clear magnification and image smoothing, but it's going to get quite annoying quickly when tracking doesn't work. But just wanted to tell you, it's not like your magnification is going to suddenly shut off or something. So it's just the enhancements and tracking that won't work just because the program isn't designed to send us the information we need.
Yeah, and the way that we've developed ZoomText Mac, it'll magnify everything, regardless of what you're running. On the Windows side of things, there are some caveats with 3D applications and things like that. But on ZoomText Mac, no matter what program you're running, if you're watching a video, it's going to magnify everything that you're run on the machine.
Do you see organizations such as the American Federation for the Blind being able to help you get cooperation from Microsoft, or is that something you're going to have to do on your own?
I would say that it's probably something we have to do on our own. We've talked about it. It's not really clear if we're going to. What we would like is to have a reporting mechanism where people can tell us, our users can tell us, hey, you know, I'm using this application, it doesn't work. Because we need to collect that information so we can go to these developers and show them that, you know, there's a market segment that they're not serving or possibly missing out on. So right now that's still kind of in process, our thinking on how to handle that. You know, ideally the applications would be written appropriately and there would be no issues, but that's the ideal scenario. In the real world, that's not always the case.
Wow.
I would say more often than not, applications are going to work fine with ZoomText. But again, there are some outliers.
Okay.
Any other questions for us this morning?
I do have one more.
Sure.
I was going on the website, and I noticed this when I initially was pulling down the demo, that when you list as far as the machines that you support,
Yep.
for some of those I'm fine with. For others, I'm really concerned because working at a university, I get students who come in with a broad range of hardware. And especially stuff like on the MacBook Pros where you're listing like within the last 2 years only. That's kind of a concern for me, trying to figure out like if a client comes in, juggling which machines I can find. I can tell a student, no, sorry, you can use this software or you can't. So when you actually talk about support, if you don't have one of these machines listed, does the software even work at all, or is it just reduced functionality?
It's basically reduced functionality to the point of unusable. If you don't meet the minimum requirements, effectively you'll get something that's either very, very sluggish screen movement, and or the screen may flicker black every few seconds. So it's really dependent on the video card hardware. So when we're using our smoothing algorithm, we're depending on that hardware. It's much different than what we do on the PC side of things, which is very much processor dependent and video card non-specific. So yeah, it's very hardware dependent at this point. We may do some things to optimize how the algorithm works, but effectively you need some pretty newer hardware to run ZoomText Mac.
And specifically, you're focusing more on the graphics for the machine.
Yep. Yeah, that's the big bottleneck more than anything. It's not really system memory constrained, or more so processor, but really the video card hardware. And unfortunately, with the Mac platform, I would say a good segment of people that own Macs own laptops, and laptops have notoriously underpowered video hardware. But in the past few years, they've really bulked up their hardware, and as such, there's kind of a steep drop-off in terms of support. If you go back more than 2 years, the hardware just isn't good enough, and then it gets to a point where it can run the product adequately enough. But to answer your question, to kind of summarize, if you don't meet the minimum requirements, it might be more than just sluggish performance. It might be to the point of unusable. But it won't prevent you from installing on the machine either. The only requirement we have during install is that you meet the operating system requirements, which is Lion or newer. So 10.7 or 10.8 are the two supported operating systems. All right. Any other questions for us here this morning? All good questions, by the way. Glad you guys came prepared with some questions. And hopefully a lot of you have already checked out the trial of ZoomText Mac. And I would also invite you, if you have feedback, to also send it off to either our sales or probably support department, because any feedback would be good.
Derek, you mentioned that it works okay with Safari. What about Internet Explorer or Google Chrome?
There's no Internet Explorer on the Mac that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Let's see. I haven't really tried it with Chrome. I guess we can see what happens here because we do have it installed. Yeah, it does not look like. Yeah, there's some things that track. I think some of the controls do not track, but you can see up here the cursor enhancement is visible. I think control tracking may not work. There are some limitations.
Right.
I would stick with Safari for right now.
Okay.
If I had to make a recommendation. But again, the worst experience you're going to get is if you're a keyboard user and you're tabbing through controls on the web page. All right. So if you don't do that, if you're a mouse user and you're just looking at the page and scrolling using your mouse, you're not going to have any issues.
Okay.
Okay, any more last-minute questions before we end the webinar for today?
I just want to say it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and end the webinar for today. Thank you guys for attending. Appreciate all the questions here this morning, too. And I hope you enjoyed getting a look at ZoomText Mac. And have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.